be me, Karen. CEO of a construction company, inherited this place from my father 3 years ago after he passed. Finally, have the power to make real change in this toxic industry. Spent the last few months documenting every microaggression, every casual comment, every slight. Today is the day I transformed this company into what it should have been all along. Walk into the office at 7:00 a.m. Coffee in hand. Feeling empowered. My assistant, Jessica, looks nervous when she sees me. Good morning. Gotten? Your 8:00 a.m. is here early. Cancel everything today. We're doing something more important. Pull up the employee roster on my computer. 847 employees total. 743 of them are men. Disgusting ratio. But not surprising. In construction, these men have created a culture of exclusion for decades. Time to level the playing field. Call Jessica into my office. I need you to prepare termination paperwork for every male employee. Her face goes white. Karen, did you mean the problematic ones? Like the guys from the incident last month? No. Jessica, every single one? She's staring at me like I've lost my mind. That's over 700 people. Karen, we can't possibly. We're creating an inclusive workplace where women can thrive without masculine toxicity. Spend the next hour explaining to her why this is necessary. Men dominate construction because they've built systems to exclude women. The only way to break these systems is radical action. She keeps asking about contracts and legal issues, boring details that miss the bigger picture. 9:00 a.m. I have the paperwork ready. Decide to start with the executive team. Call in Noah. My VP of Operations, he's been here 15 years, thinks he knows everything. Noah, thank you for your service. But we're restructuring. Hand him the termination papers. His face goes through about 5 emotions at once. Karen, what is this about? My quarterly reports show we're ahead of projections. This isn't about performance. Noah, it's about creating an equitable workplace. He reads the paperwork. Looks confused. Are you firing me because I'm a man? I'm firing you because this company needs fresh perspective. Technically not lying. He starts arguing about wrongful termination. Security escorts him out within 10 minutes. Feels amazing to see his entitled shock. Next is David from HR. He actually has the nerve to warn me about legal implications. Karen, mass terminations based on gender could expose us to massive lawsuits. David, you've enabled this toxic culture for years by protecting problematic men, but we need proper documentation, performance reviews. Your services are no longer required. Watch him pack his desk while muttering about lawsuits. These men always threaten legal action when they lose power. By noon, I've terminated the entire SOITE. Word is spreading through the office. You can see groups of men whispering, looking panicked. Good. They should feel uncomfortable for once. Call in all-hands meeting for 2 p.m. The main conference room is packed, mostly men looking confused and angry. The women look nervous but curious. Stand up and survey the room. Today marks a new chapter for this company. For too long, women in construction have faced barriers, harassment, and exclusion. Starting today, we're building a workplace that prioritizes equality and inclusion. Hands start going up, ignore them, and continue. Effective immediately. All male employees are being released to pursue other opportunities. The room erupts, men shouting over each other. This is illegal. You can't fire us for being men. The union will hear about this. Hold up my hand for silence. Security will escort you to collect your belongings. Severance packages are being processed. Actually feel proud watching them file out. Some are angry. Some look defeated. A few women approach me afterward. Karen, are you sure about this? We're going to lose a lot of experience. Sarah, trust the process. We're going to prove women can run construction better than men. Spend the rest of the day watching security clear out desks. 743 men, gone by 6:00 p.m. Office feels so much calmer already. That weekend, I'm energized planning our new direction. We have 104 female employees left. Time to redistribute roles and responsibilities. Promote Sarah to VP of Operations. Even though she was just a project coordinator, she has potential and won't be corrupted by masculine thinking. Make Linda the new head of safety despite her background in accounting. Numbers are numbers. Safety can't be that complex. Spend Monday morning in meetings with the remaining team. Everyone seems overwhelmed. But that's normal during transitions. Ladies, we're pioneers. The construction industry is watching. We're going to show them that women don't need men to build things. First red flag comes Tuesday. Sarah comes to my office looking stressed. Karen, we have a problem. The River Heights project is behind schedule. How behind? 3 weeks. We lost the entire crew when the restructuring happened. So, hire new people. I've been trying. But experienced female heavy equipment operators are really hard to find. This is exactly the kind of defaced thinking that holds women back. Sarah, women can learn to operate equipment. We don't need decades of male-dominated experience. She looks uncomfortable. Karen, these are 5 zero-tonen cranes. The insurance requirements alone, figure it out. That's why you're VP now. By Thursday, we have our first workplace accident. Patricia, a former office manager, was operating a forklift, crashed into a support beam. Minor injuries. But OSHA gets involved. The inspector is this middle-aged guy who clearly has an agenda. Ma'am, your operator doesn't have proper certification for this equipment. She's learning on the job. Women are perfectly capable. This isn't about capability. It's about safety regulations and training requirements. Slaps us with a $15,000 fine and temporary work stoppage. Spend the weekend researching equipment training programs. Everything requires weeks or months of certification, clearly designed to keep women out of these roles. Another example of systemic barriers. Monday brings more problems. Jennifer, from what used to be accounting, calls me, Karen, we can't process payroll. Robert handled all the systems before he was let go. The computers still work. Right. Just do what he did. I don't have access to his passwords or know which software he used. This is why men hoard information to make themselves seem indispensable. Spend 3 days with tech support trying to recover payroll systems. End up having to hire an expensive consulting firm. They're charging us $500 per hour to rebuild what Robert apparently did solo. Typical male gatekeeping. 3 weeks in, and I'm starting to see the scope of the problem. These men didn't just do jobs. They created a web of dependencies. Every system seems to require knowledge that walked out the door, but this is exactly what I expected. Men design things to exclude women, then act surprised when we struggle. The solution is to rebuild everything properly. Hire a consulting firm run by women to overhaul our processes. They're expensive, but worth it for truly inclusive systems. Meanwhile, our active projects are struggling. The Riverside Mall renovation is 6 weeks behind. Client keeps calling asking about delays. Ms. Karen, we have a grand opening scheduled. Where does the project stand? We're implementing new quality standards that take time. Technically true. By month 2, we've lost 3 major contracts. Clients are getting impatient with delays. Some are threatening to pull out entirely. Sarah keeps bringing me problems instead of solutions. Karen? The electrical work at Downtown Plaza, failed inspection. What do you mean, failed? Code violation. The inspector says we need a licensed electrician to redo everything. We have Nancy from facilities working on electrical. Nancy used to change light bulbs. This is commercial electrical work. Getting tired of these excuses. Sarah, are you saying women can't do electrical work? No. I'm saying we need proper licensing and training. Get Nancy whatever training she needs. The licensing process takes months. Meanwhile, we're paying penalties for delayed projects. Also, getting nasty letters from the electricians' union. Apparently, Nancy doing electrical work violates their contract. Another example of masculine gatekeeping. File a discrimination complaint against the union. Month 3 brings the first lawsuit. Noah and 6 other former executives file a class action. Their lawyer sends this threatening letter, accuse me of gender discrimination and breach of contract. My lawyer Jessica hired, looks concerned, got in. Their case has merit. Mass terminations based solely on gender are legally problematic. This wasn't about gender. It was about culture change. That's not how the documentation reads. Spend $50, 000 on legal fees just for the initial response. The lawsuit discovery process is eating up my time. Meanwhile, our female employees are burning out. Sarah comes in looking exhausted. Karen? I need help. I'm working 80-hour weeks, and we're still behind on everything. That's what leadership requires. Sarah, but I don't know half the technical stuff. When Noah was here, don't compare yourself to Noah. You're better than he ever was. She looks like she wants to say something else, but doesn't. Month 4 is when everything starts falling apart. Lose our biggest client when the harbor project collapses completely. Literally collapses. Structural failure during construction. Thankfully, no one was seriously hurt. But the liability insurance goes insane. Our premiums triple overnight. The cause was apparently inadequate foundation work. NY's electrical training didn't include structural engineering. Who knew those were different things? Qui use for $2, 3 millions. Insurance company starts their own investigation. More lawyers. More depositions. More fees. Also getting investigated by the state licensing board. Apparently, you need actual licensed engineers for structural work. Another gatekeeping mechanism. Sarah quits on a Tuesday. Walks into my office and puts her keys on the desk. I can't do this anymore. Karen, Sarah, we're so close to turning the corner. We've lost 60% of our contracts. Half the remaining women have quit. The weak ones leave. The strong ones stay. She shakes her head. This isn't about strength. We're in over our heads. You're just scared of success. Watch her walk out. Down to 23 female employees. Month 5 brings the bank meeting I've been dreading. Revenue is down 78% from last year. Legal fees are approaching $300. Ling ling ling. Insurance costs have quadrupled. Outstanding project penalties. Total $1. 8 millions. The loan officer, this smug guy named Richard, lays it out. Ms. Karen, your company is technically insolvent. We're restructuring. This is temporary. Your debt-to-revenue ratio is unsustainable. The construction industry is notoriously maladominated. Of course, there are challenges. This goes beyond market challenges. Your operational capacity has collapsed. He's enjoying this too much. Demands immediate collateral for our existing loans. Have to put up the office building and equipment. Month 6 arrives with an eviction notice. Can't make rent on the main office. Down to 11 employees. Most of our equipment has been repossessed. The remaining women are updating their resumes. Sit in my smaller office space reviewing the numbers. 4 million. 2 million in debt. 180 million. 0 inches monthly operating costs. 27 million. 0 inches monthly revenue. Basic math says this doesn't work. But math is probably biased. Anyway, the final blow comes from an unexpected source. Get a call from Detective Rodriguez. Ms. Karen, we're investigating financial irregularities at your company. Apparently, some of the former male employees reported suspicious spending. They claim I misused company funds during the transition. The consulting fees, legal costs, everything. Ma'am, you spent $400 000 on consulting in 4 months. That was necessary for restructuring to rebuild payroll systems that were working fine. These men are petty enough to involve law enforcement, typical masculine revenge tactics. The investigation takes 2 weeks, forensic accountants going through every transaction. Turns out there are regulations about fiduciary responsibility. Who knew being CEO involved so many technicalities? My lawyer suggests filing for bankruptcy. Chapter 11. Reorganization might save some assets. Or we could fight this, prove the system is rigged against women. Karin, you have no revenue stream and massive debt. Fighting won't change math. Even my female lawyer is giving up. File the paperwork on a Friday. 847 employees 6 months ago. 0 employees today. The office is empty, except for boxes. Sit in my car in the parking lot. Get a text from an unknown number. Saw the news about your company. Shame how it worked out. Noah? He's probably celebrating. All those men probably are. They wanted me to fail from the beginning. Engineered the whole system to make female success impossible. Drive home, thinking about what went wrong. Maybe I moved too fast. Maybe I should have kept a few men as tokens. At least until the women were fully trained. But that would have compromised the entire mission. You can't create real change with half measures. The problem isn't my approach. The problem is a society that punishes women for being bold. That night, I draft a LinkedIn post about my experience, about how the construction industry uses complex regulations to exclude women, about how financial systems are designed to punish feminine leadership styles, about how even other women get intimidated by truly radical change. Spend an hour crafting the perfect message, explaining how this failure proves the system needs to be rebuilt entirely. Post it and wait for the supportive responses. Instead, I get mostly silence. A few comments from other women in leadership. Maybe consider a more gradual approach next time. Small steps lead to lasting change. They don't get it. Gradual approaches just maintain the status quo. Real change requires bold action, requires someone willing to sacrifice for the greater good. 3 months later, I'm working as a project manager for a mid-size firm. My new boss is this guy named Trevor. He's younger than me, but somehow has more construction experience. Keeps explaining basic concepts like, I've never worked in the industry. Classic mansplaining. During team meetings, he dismisses my suggestions. When I propose more inclusive hiring practices, we hire based on qualifications and experience, but that maintains existing inequalities. Our priority is project delivery and client satisfaction. Short-sighted thinking. He doesn't understand that diversity improves outcomes. The irony is that he's successful using exactly the old boy networks I fought against, gets contracts through relationships with other men, hires people based on recommendations rather than merit. Yet somehow his projects finish on time and under budget. Typical male luck. During my performance review, he brings up areas for improvement. Karin, you have great insights, but sometimes push too hard, too fast. Change requires urgency. Incremental progress maintains oppression. Maybe consider building consensus before implementing changes. He wants me to compromise my principles, asks if I learned anything from my previous company's challenges. I learned that the construction industry isn't ready for female leadership. He looks confused. Actually, there are several successful women-led construction companies. Token successes that prove the exception. Names 3 companies run by women. Claims they grew gradually over decades. They worked within existing systems while advocating for change. That's exactly the problem. Working within oppressive systems validates them. He assigns me to smaller projects after that, probably threatened by my vision. 6 months into this new job, I hear news about my old company. Trevor mentions it during a staff meeting. Did you all hear about Westside Construction? Noah bought the assets. My heart stops. He kept about 40% of the original staff, and they're rebuilding. Apparently, they landed the harbor project contract after the previous contractor failed. That's my project. My company. How did he get financing? I ask. Banks love him. His previous track record was solid. What about the structural problems with harbor project? He hired proper engineers, fixed the foundation issues, Must have cost a fortune. Actually came in under budget. Turns out most of the work was salvageable. Of course it was. He's getting credit for cleaning up problems I was solving. Typical masculine takeover tactics. That evening, I look up Noah online. His LinkedIn shows he spent the 6 months as a consultant, helped 3 other construction companies optimize operations, somehow turned his termination into a career boost, has testimonials from former clients about his expertise. Even some from women praising his inclusive management style. One comment stands out. Noah created advancement opportunities for women while maintaining operational excellence. From Sarah, my former VP. She's working for him now as Director of Operations. Apparently, he hired 12 women from my old team, gave them proper training and mentorship. They're succeeding under his leadership, which proves my point about male gatekeeping. He's taking credit for the potential I recognized in those women. Scroll through more of his posts. He's speaking at industry conferences about sustainable organizational change, using my failure as a case study for what not to do. Radical approaches often backfire. Lasting change requires patience and strategy. Easy to say when you're rebuilding with my foundation. Find an article about the harbor project completion. Quotes from Noah about innovative approaches. We integrated diverse perspectives while maintaining technical excellence. The key is balancing vision with operational reality. Classic male appropriation of female ideas. He's getting awards for concepts I pioneered. The article mentions that 35% of his workforce is now women, highest percentage in the region for construction, but those are women I identified and developed. He's benefiting from my investment in their potential. Realize, I should probably be happy for those women. They're advancing their careers and breaking barriers. But it stings that they needed a man to legitimize their success. Proves how rigged the system really is. Spend the weekend reflecting on everything. Maybe my approach was ahead of its time. Maybe the industry needed gradual preparation for real change. Or maybe I was surrounded by people who lacked vision. Either way, I proved that bold female leadership threatens the establishment. The fact that Noah succeeded with my former employees proves my hiring was right. He just had unfair advantages. I didn't. Access to old boy networks, established relationships, male credibility. If I had those same advantages, my approach would have worked. Monday morning. Trevor calls me into his office. Karin, I have an interesting opportunity. Hence mir folder. Noah at Westside Construction is looking for a senior project manager. He specifically asked about you. My stomach drops. What did you tell him? That you're talented but might benefit from his mentorship style. You want to get rid of me. I want to see you succeed. Noah builds great teams by stealing the credit for other people's work. Trevor looks confused again. He rebuilt a failed company and created opportunities for women using my employees and my foundation. Karen. Maybe it's time to consider that collaboration achieves more than confrontation. He's probably right, but accepting Noah's job offer feels like admitting defeat, like validating his approach over mine. That evening, Noah calls me directly. Karen? I'd like to discuss an opportunity. His voice is annoyingly calm. What kind of opportunity? Senior project manager for our downtown development portfolio? Reporting to you. Yes. But with significant autonomy and growth potential. Why would you want to hire me? Because you identified great talent and had valid insights about industry problems. Your execution had issues. But your vision wasn't wrong. Just my methods. Change management is complex. I learned that the hard way. He sounds genuine. But this could be a power play. What's the salary? 15% above your current position plus performance bonuses. And I'd be working with my former employees. Some of them. Yes. Sarah speaks very highly of you. Even after everything. She says you pushed her to grow even when she resisted. That you saw potential others missed. Spend the weekend considering his offer. Part of me wants to refuse on principle. Accepting feels like validation of his superiority. But another part recognizes the practical benefits, higher salary. Larger projects, Opportunity to influence change from within. Maybe this is how real progress happens. Incremental advancement rather than revolutionary transformation. Call clears throat him Tuesday morning. I'll take the job. But I have conditions. I'm listening. I want input on hiring decisions and company culture initiatives. Done. What else? And I want credit for my contributions. Not just execution of your vision. Fair enough. Anything else? Regular feedback and advancement opportunities based on performance. Karen, I built my reputation by developing talent. You'll get every opportunity you earn. Starts next Monday. First day. Noah introduces me to the team. Sarah greets me with a genuine smile. Karen? I'm so glad you're here. Are you really after everything? You taught me I could do more than I thought possible. Even though I almost destroyed your career. You gave me a chance when no one else would. Noah just gave you the training and support to succeed. She nods thoughtfully. Maybe that's what leadership is. Seeing potential and creating conditions for growth rather than just removing obstacles. I think both matter. Maybe she's right. Maybe effective change requires both vision and strategy. Recognition of problems and sustainable solutions. Spend the morning reviewing project portfolios. Noah's operation is impressive. Diverse teams. Efficient process. Strong client relationships. Everything I wanted to achieve, but with sustainable systems. During lunch, he sits down next to me. Honest question. What do you think of what we've built here? Consider lying. But decide on truth. It's what I wanted to create, but better executed. Your instincts about inclusion were right, but you implemented them without destroying everything else. Experience helps. I made similar mistakes earlier in my career. You failed a company too. Nearly about 10 years ago, I tried to modernize a family construction business too quickly. What happened? Almost the same as you. Pushed experienced people out before building replacement systems. Learned that change management is a skill, not just good intentions. This reframes everything. He's not succeeding because he's a man. He's succeeding because he learned from failure. Same mistakes I made, but earlier in his career with lower stakes. Is that why you hired me? Partly talent that learns from failure becomes unstoppable. And you think I've learned? We'll find out. 3 months in, I'm getting comfortable with the role. Leading a team of 8 on a mixed-use development, implementing inclusive practices within established frameworks, progress feels slower but more sustainable. Sarah and I work together again. This time, with proper support systems. She's grown tremendously in technical skills. Remember when you threw me into operations management? She asks during a coffee break. You seemed ready. I was terrified. But it forced me to realize I could learn anything, even with no experience. Especially with no experience. No preconceptions about what was impossible, but the training Noah provided helped too. Absolutely. Vision needs to be paired with competence. Her success validates my original assessment, but also highlights what I missed about development processes. 6 months in, Noah promotes me to Director of Development, manage 4 project managers, and oversee strategic planning. Exactly the influence I wanted in my original company, but achieved through collaboration rather than revolution. During my promotion meeting, he brings up an interesting point. Your failure taught me as much as your success is now. How so? Watching what happened showed me the importance of change management. I've used your experience as a cautionary tale in leadership training. Yay. Thanks. But also as proof that bold vision matters. The industry needed someone willing to challenge assumptions, even if the execution was flawed. Especially then failed. Experiments teach us what works. To realize he's been studying my approach, learning from my mistakes to improve his methods. So, my failure contributed to your success. Your failure contributed to the industry's progress. That's actually kind of meaningful. Change requires pioneers willing to take risks. Some pioneers fail, but they clear the path for others. Driving home that night, I think about the conversation. Maybe my original company wasn't just a failure. Maybe it was necessary disruption that enabled later progress, radical action that shifted the conversation. Even if it didn't achieve immediate goals, Noah succeeded partly because I proved gradual change was safer than revolution. My failure made his moderate approach look reasonable, which enabled him to implement many of my original ideas. The irony is that my catastrophic failure might have advanced women in construction more than moderate success would have. By proving the consequences of moving too fast, I cleared space for sustainable approaches. 1 year later, I'm presenting at a construction industry conference. Topic: learning from failure, bold vision, and sustainable change. Tell the story of my original company honestly. Acknowledge mistakes while defending core principles. Radical change often fails, but it shifts the conversation. It makes moderate change look reasonable by comparison. Sometimes failure is the most important contribution. During Q&A, a young woman asks about gender progress. Do you think women need to choose between vision and success? No. But we need to learn strategy as well as courage. Bold ideas need sustainable execution. Both matter. But in the right sequence, after the presentation, Noah finds me. Great talk. Honest and insightful. Think it will help women avoid my mistakes. I think it will help everyone balance vision with pragmatism. Your experience is valuable precisely because you pushed boundaries, even though I failed spectacularly. Especially because you failed spectacularly. Failure at scale teaches lessons that small failures can't. Realize he's right. My catastrophic failure provided data that gradual failures wouldn't. Proved definitively what doesn't work. Cleared the path for sustainable approaches. Maybe that was always my role. To be the cautionary tale that enables others' success. 2 years later, my current company has 40% female employees. Highest in the region, achieved through gradual but persistent progress. Sarah is now VP of Operations. 12 women from my original team now hold management positions. They succeeded because someone was willing to see their potential. Even if the first attempt at developing them failed, sitting in my office, reviewing quarterly reports, we've exceeded revenue targets while maintaining inclusive hiring. Everything I dreamed of achieving but built sustainably. Get an email from a business school professor wants to interview me for a case study on constructive failure, how spectacular failures can enable later success. Apparently, my story is becoming a standard example of how bold vision needs strategic execution, how failed change attempts can still advance progress. Read through some of the academic articles about my experience. They frame it as necessary disruption rather than simple failure. Argue that my extreme approach was required to shift industry conversation, even though it couldn't succeed operationally. One article quotes Noah extensively. Karen's approach taught the industry that change was both necessary and possible. Her failure proved that gradual change was the realistic path. Without her pushing the boundaries, moderate progress wouldn't have seemed urgent. He's giving me credit for his success. Acknowledging that my failure enabled his approach, the irony is that I'm finally getting recognition for failing in exactly the way everyone said I would. Maybe that was always the point, to prove that dramatic change was necessary, even if it couldn't be achieved through dramatic methods. 5 years later, I'm consulting on organizational change, helping companies implement inclusive practices sustainably, using my failure as a roadmap of what to avoid. My client list includes 3 major construction companies, all implementing gradual diversity initiatives, all using my original vision with Noah's strategic approach. During one consulting session, the CEO asks about my motivation. Why do you focus on change management after your experience? Because change is still necessary, just better executed. Your failure didn't change your principles. It changed my methods, not my goals. The industry still needs transformation. It just needs sustainable transformation. Realize this conversation would have gone differently 6 years ago. I would have been defensive about my original approach, insisted that my methods were right but unsupported. Now I can acknowledge mistakes while maintaining core convictions. Maybe that's the real lesson. Not that bold vision is wrong, but that effective vision requires continuous learning. My original company failed catastrophically, but it succeeded in proving change was necessary and taught me how to achieve change sustainably. Perhaps that was always the intended outcome, just not the one I expected.